So I'm going to be building Abaddon the Despoiler. Comes in a lovely box with very nice artwork on it. Should probably show you the back. That way up. Best box artwork I've had on something so far. Let's have a look at inside the box. Mind these to the side for now. So, single sprue with all the different pieces on. Gives you a nice idea of the scale. Very good. Onto the instruction manual. Something like this is quite a good idea to follow the instructions. If you're doing your bog standard Chaos Marines, obviously there's a lot of mixing and matching going on there, so once you've got the hang of how they go together you can just ignore it basically and get on with things. But obviously with a character like this, we're wanting to put it together the right way and make sure that we don't mess anything up. So what I'm going to do with this, you can see obviously I've got my tools ready that I'm going to be using. And you'll notice that I've got most of what I'm using is Citadel stuff, mostly because I like to buy official things because I'm weird like that, and also because it's what my local gaming shop sells and I like to support them rather than ordering other things off the internet. So let's have a look how this starts. So instructions, it's suggesting going straight for the body first, putting together the main bulk of Abaddon himself. Fair enough place to start, so we'll crack on and do that with the lovely clippers. And the first piece is right up here, number 1. My personal preference when I'm clipping these things out of the sprue is obviously they attach quite narrowly onto the sprue, which obviously reduces the amount of flashing and things that you get on them and stuff like that, but it's still a good idea with your clippers when you're doing this to actually clip not right next to it. Don't try and go as far down as you can. What my preference is to go a little bit further up, clip it, still leaves a little bit of a stub on, and I'll show you why I do that in a second. So, got the torso piece clipped off. See if I can get that in focus for you. There we are. So that is going to be the main thing that we're starting to work on now. I'm going to use this just behind it so that we can get a bit better focus. There we are. Prop that up. Camera's playing up a bit. There we go. So what I do now is take the little knife. And this is going to allow us to cut much more accurately these little bits of sprue off. You always got to be careful with knives, obviously. Probably don't do it exactly the way I'm doing it, considering I'm pressing the blade onto my thumb. Find out what's comfortable for you, but find out as well what might make you slip. the way I do things, it's such small movements that generally I don't tend to have any issues with it. Once we've trimmed a bit off, another thing we can do is, for example, I have the Citadel mold line remover, and we can just gently run that over the excess bit of sprue there as well, which scrapes a little bit off. The other option, of course, is to use a file, obviously designed to give you a nice smooth finish over things, but obviously you need to be careful because they can be a bit wide and cause you to file down the edges of things that you're not actually trying to file down, so you need to be quite careful with them. Keep an eye on what you're doing. The best thing to do then, just to see whether or not, because sometimes it can look like there's still stuff there when there isn't, is to feel, maybe see if you can catch it on your fingernail, which I still can. Mold line removal tool is useful for getting rid of those last little bits like that. And of course we do that on each of the spot points that had that attachment to the sprue. Depending on how much there's there, obviously using your knife to trim bits off, and your other tools. So that's how you get rid of the excess sprue from where you've clipped it off. Another thing to look out for, obviously a mold line on the model itself. It might be a bit difficult to see. Don't know if I can manage to get this in focus. You can see one on the shoulder there. So again, mold line removal tool is quite useful for that. That's what it's designed for. Just gently dragging it across at an angle. Take those lines off. Now this particular piece that I'm doing is actually underneath of the shoulder pads, which aren't actually going to be seen once the full model's together. Just demonstrating the technique of how you would do this. Okay, so that's, you get the idea. That's generally the process you're going to do for each piece. So I'll not go through explaining that again for every time. Might get a bit dull and repetitive. Once you're happy, looking it over, finding those mold lines, making sure you've got rid of them. Keep catching a few more with my eye. As I shift it around, it's good to get a look at it from different angles as well, because you'll notice bits as it captures the light in different areas. Next bit we're asked to do, let's have a look. Now I'm not going to do the face just yet. I'm going to have a look at the legs to go on. So we've got a solid piece, number 6, to go on. See if we can find that on the sprue. We've got 5 here. Aha, there we are. We've got number 6 just here. Now, I have to say, Games Workshop has got a lot better in their recent model designs, how they mould them, actually hiding the mould lines a lot better, so there's a lot less to do, I find, on their newer sculpts than there was on previous sculpts. Especially for big models like this, they've done a lot better at keeping them out of the way. So, having done that, that is just about done, that leg. And it's always a good idea, we don't just stick these things straight on. Let's do a quick test fit, see how it looks. Make sure there's nothing getting in the way, you've not missed any bits of excess plastic that you need to trim off. When you're happy with how it fits, we can go ahead and glue that. Make sure there's no glue on the nozzle there to mess it up a little bit. I've noticed the Citadel plastic glue does have a tendency for the nozzle to come out. It sticks a lot. So we don't need a lot of this, just a little blob on there. And just gently and firmly press it on. Give it a tiny bit of a wiggle to make sure it's seated on that little positioning pin right. Press it on firmly and it'll hold pretty quickly. Obviously that doesn't mean it's set. It's far from set. You need to give it a good few minutes for it to gain some strength, and I've found that generally it's only at its full strength probably maybe about 3 hours afterwards, but it is pretty much set after a good 20-30 seconds. So you can see there, that leg's on. It's not coming off, it's not waggling off. Plastic glue's doing its job fusing that joint together. So we can put him down, let that carry on drying. Move on to the next little bit, next little instruction. Numbers 5 and 7. Just make sure we put the nozzle back on that glue. Stop it from setting inside the bottle. So we've got number 5 up here, and number 7 down on the other half, just here. Same again, just cleaning off excess plastic. And I'll come back once I've got the body together. You have a look at these instructions. I'm going to put the body together. You get to choose a face, stick that on. Get the front section of his armour on with the little tabard flowing down there, and the main section of his upper body armour and Terminator armour that he's wearing. And I'll be back once that's done to discuss the next couple of steps. Okay, so here we have Abaddon almost built up. So we've got the arms to do, and the cape and the base, and I just thought I'd come back on now to show you, or tell you, what I usually do when building models with regards to preparing for painting. So we'll start off. Next part of the instructions suggests building the Talon of Horus. So I'll go ahead and start building that. One thing to show you is, obviously with a piece like this, you want to make sure that you're not wasting glue. You want to make sure you're getting glue in the places where it needs to be. So on this piece, for example, you want to be looking at this flat edge around here. So obviously it's not amazingly thick. It's not too thin either, but it's not amazingly thick. You want to be getting the glue on there. Another good way of making sure you're getting the glue in the right place is to test by having a look, putting the pieces together and seeing where the joins are. So if you get it on the edge, reduces the chance that you're going to overspill out and get a little leak to see from the outside. Now, I'm not 100% perfect at that, I still manage to do that sometimes, but generally works out. Give it a firm squeeze to make sure that it's sticking properly. So next bit, it's attaching the actual combi bolter to it. So I've got two parts for this one, 21 and 22. We've got 21 right here, 22 down in this corner. So again, just clip them both out. So again, we just do a quick test fit, see how they go together. There we are. You can see there's a little recess on one side. See if I can get that to focus for you. There we are. A recess on that side, and then on this one, a little piece to slot into that recess. So my advice for here would be to get just a tiny bit of glue in that recess. Just run the glue back and forwards until a little bit comes out. See, I've glued it just in that recess. And stick them together, and that kind of ensures that when you put them together, anything that leaks from where you've actually put the glue on is just going to help gel together the other mating surfaces. So it doesn't matter if you put a tiny bit too much on, provided you can get it to stick. Nice. It's me not holding on for long enough there. Just going to give it a little bit of time to just get that initial set and hold. There we are. As you can see, there's very little, if any, glue come out from the inside of that. So I'm happy with that. While that's setting, before we stick that on, we'll move on to just cutting out and trimming Drachnian and Abaddon's hand, which we have down here in the bottom corner. It's a very nicely moulded sword, in my opinion. Let's get that clipped off. I might as well give that a test fit while we're still waiting. Make sure that sits nicely. Yeah, it feels firm to me where it's going to sit. Good. We can actually do that for the talon as well. Just feel around, see if you can feel where the slot is. It's not always as easy as you might think. Especially with one of the shallower little slots like this. Oh, it does feel to be sitting on there alright. We can go ahead, check the fit of that combi bolter. And yeah, that looks alright to me. So we can pop a little bit of glue into where those pegs are going to go. Another firm press seals that in there. And you can see there's a tiny bit of glue showing on the joint there. And it's not always a bad thing, because sometimes it can serve to slightly seal and fill the gap. You do generally want to avoid it, but a tiny amount isn't really an issue. And now we've got those pieces cut out and stuck together, we can get our bit pieces mounted on the body himself. Yeah, that is nearly the main body of Abaddon done. Got his trophy rack left, and his hair to stick on, and a pipe that goes on the back. Now I'll get those bits cut out and stuck on, and I'll come back once I've finished that. There we have him, the War Master of Chaos in all his glory, minus cape just at the moment, and also minus base. The reason for that being, having assembled him to this point, this is where I believe some sub-assemblies are required for painting. So he shall remain like this. I will cut out the cape pieces, cut out the base piece and glue that to the actual base, and stick those together, and I'll show you the remaining pieces as their individual sub-assemblies and explain why I've chosen to do that for painting reasons. And that is the 3 sub-assemblies I'm building for this model done. See, we've got Abaddon the man himself. We have his cape, and we have the base. Put together as 3 separate pieces to make painting easier. You can, as you can imagine, with Abaddon on the base, it's going to make doing some of the bits underneath, getting to the back, say, of his tabard at the front, quite difficult. And between here and up towards his legs. So we keep him separate, we can get to all those details. Also means we're not fighting past him to get the details on the base. And the same goes for the cloak. Which obviously I can imagine, with it being on, it's going to cover up a lot of his legs. It's going to get in the way of the base. So it just makes a bit more sense to keep it separate for now, and when the time comes you can slip it over and it will click on, but obviously you want to glue it in place if you're going to keep it on permanently, just to keep it that bit extra secure. I'm going to probably figure out a way of making it easy to take on and off, and if I manage to do that you'll probably see that in the next video. But that is 3 sub-assemblies ready for painting. So in the next video I'll be showing you some primed sub-assemblies and we'll be cracking on with getting this wonderful model painted, a model I've been waiting for a long time. So see you again soon.